But how do you get to that point in the first place?
I think to some extent you just have to go for it. You have to you have to trust that feeling in you. I think we all get that feeling sometimes where you go, I'm really uncomfortable with this, the way this is being talked about, or the way this is being discussed, or the fact that nobody has raised this important point. And it's easy to ignore that. And sometimes it's necessary to ignore it. Sometimes you think, there's no point in me raising this here and now. This is not the place to have this fight because it won't change anyone's mind and I will close myself off from future opportunities. But if you keep doing that, then you never do it. And yeah, sometimes I think you just have to trust that gut feeling, and your gut says, this is wrong and I'm not comfortable with it. You have to open your mouth and say, I think this is wrong, and see what happens. And you're right, that is a risk because you don't know how people are going to respond. But quite often, I think people have found that they do that, and at least one other person goes, yeah, I'm glad you said that because I was thinking that and I thought I
Mm.
was the only one.
Yeah, indeed. So you said, just to quickly wrap up, that you're thinking of writing a book on this later
Yeah.
on, possibly. So
Yeah.
have you started doing the research on that, and like how is that going? Or
I have started doing some research. Yeah. I'm trying to put together a proposal that sums up what it's about. I realized that there's two key points I think with risk that I'd like to put in the book. One of them is that we're often told that taking risks is irresponsible. And I would like to say, no, it's the other way around, actually, that you cannot be a responsible adult without taking risks because taking responsibility for something, for seeing something through, means that you're taking responsibility for stuff that you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what. So my favorite example, weirdly, is when I took this show to Edinburgh. It was very interactive with the audience, which was really because I felt my life had got too safe and I wanted to take more risks. So I made the show very interactive with the audience so that I wasn't in control of the show and what would happen and how things would turn out. A lot of audience participation, which was randomized. And so one of the things I did, and I literally gave people like cloakroom tickets on the way in so that I would randomize the audience participation and I would pick a number out of the hat and say, number 44, and it would be somebody in the audience. Number 44, what's the biggest risk you've ever taken? And one of the answers, there were all sorts of different answers, but one of the answers I didn't expect, but I got several times was getting married. And there'd always be a bit of a kind of a giggle because they would usually be sat there with their spouse and sometimes with their children. So it's a bit like, well, that's a bit cheeky. It's like, you rolled a dice and you ended up with this person and it was a risk. But then we would all kind of take a step back and go, yeah, that's really interesting actually, because it's not just that you don't know everything about the person, but you have no idea what life is going to throw at you as you go down the road. You maybe you're going to have kids together, maybe there's going to be particular challenges with the kids, there's going to be situations you didn't foresee, maybe one of you will be ill. There's all sorts of things that you don't foresee, but when you've made the commitment to be married to somebody, you're not meant to be able to just go, oh yeah, but I didn't foresee that happening. I didn't sign up for that. That's the whole point of for richer, for poor, sickness, health, and so on, is that you sign up going, right, this is a joint project of being married together and we're going to see it through. And we don't know what it's going to take. We don't know we're going to have to rise to situations that we never foresaw, but we're going to get opportunities we never imagined. We're going to probably maybe bring new people into the world that we're responsible for jointly. I mean, it's terrifying when you think about it, but you can see why people said that's a risk, but it's a risk in the wonderful way that only adults can take because you go, right, I'm going to commit to this. I have no idea what I'm committing to in a sense, but I'm committing to seeing it through, whatever it takes. And so I think the idea that taking risks is irresponsible is the wrong way around. It's like taking risks is responsible because you're taking responsibility for things.
is
And
it
that's the key thing that I would like to get across. And the other thing more broadly is just that we're too risk averse because we tend to see risk as like a situation that you're in, a state of being. So you're at risk. or you put yourself at risk. And then it's like you've gone and stood on the cross on the floor in a cartoon, and then you look up and there's the grand piano falling towards you. It's like that's what risk is. You've just stood on the cross and you hope the piano doesn't hit you. But I think you should think about risk instead as a mode of action, that a risk is something you take and you deliberately take on this open-ended responsibility and you act, and it's the only way to live as an adult.